Hey everyone, welcome to a rainy day car review. Today we're going to be taking a look at this 2022 Infiniti QX60. This is Infiniti's three-row family crossover. It's very similar to the Nissan Pathfinder. Both vehicles are all new for 2022. This is technically the second generation of the QX60. It originally went on sale for the 2013 model year as the JX35. Then after just 1 year, Infiniti changed its model naming structure around and the car became the QX60. And here we have, for 2022, the second generation. So I'm gonna try to spend as little time outside the vehicle as possible. Let's do a quick tour and then hop in and take this for a drive. Styling is certainly subjective, but I don't think this is a bad looking vehicle. I like the contrast roof. I think the lines are deliberate. Nothing's really overdone. Headlights are very narrow. They have some nice LED styling elements within them. This grille design is pretty familiar by now. Moving down the side, this one's fully loaded, so it comes in at about $65,000 and it rides on these 20-inch wheels. I like this exterior color. It's a silvery gold. There's a touch of rose gold. I mean, you really gotta look for it, but it's a pretty interesting color. I like it a lot. Like I said, contrast black roof. Even the A-pillar is black. That's a nice touch. That only comes on these fully loaded QX60s. Badging on the back, all-wheel drive. It says Infiniti across the tailgate there. And then you've also got the Infiniti emblem and then QX60. You open the rear hatch via this little button that's hidden right there. So like I said, this is a three-row family crossover. Although the third row here, which is really easy to put up, the third row only seats 2 across. In the new Pathfinder, the third row seats 3 across, and there's a seatbelt that comes out of the ceiling for the middle passenger. For whatever reason, they've eliminated that middle seating position here in the QX60. That's surprising. What's also interesting is the QX60 gains power up and down functionality, one touch for the third row. What I really like here though is that if you want to do things quickly, you can put the third row up manually via these straps. Other things back here. So there's a little storage compartment under here, and what's really nice is that the lid supports itself. Feels really good right there. And then you've just got a couple basic hooks, kind of a cheap feeling tie down point, 12 volt right there. Another hook, another tie down point. And yeah, let's put that up. And I think that's about it for the back. So I don't have a window sticker, but I do have this information sheet right here. You can see that the MSRP on this one is $63,945 plus a destination charge of $1,025. And well, unfortunately, they don't add those two up there, but do a little math, and as equipped, this one comes in at about $65,000, and it is fully loaded, so that's about as much as you could expect to pay for a new QX60. And for the sake of comparison, a fully loaded 2022 Pathfinder comes in at about $50,000, so you're looking at about a $15,000 premium for the QX60. Power comes from a 3.5 liter V6. It's the same engine offered in the Pathfinder, and it's the same engine that was offered in the previous generation of these vehicles. Although in the Infiniti, it makes 11 more horsepower and 11 additional pounds-feet of torque compared to the new Pathfinder. The big change to the powertrain for these vehicles is the addition of a 9-speed automatic transmission. If you remember, the previous Pathfinder in the previous QX60 used a dreadful continuously variable automatic transmission, and the new 9-speed really does improve the driving experience of these vehicles. Beyond that, we're pretty loaded here. We've got all the active safety features. We've got a nice big panoramic sunroof, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, of course. This is a top-of-the-line autograph trim, so you get this higher-end kind of quilted leather, although I will say it's kind of wrinkling there already, and this car doesn't quite have more than 5,000 miles on it, so that's maybe a little bit of a drawback. But the exterior color is called warm titanium with black, the black roof, and then the interior color is graphite. Speaking of the interior, it's it's pretty nice. It's nothing revolutionary, but it doesn't feel cheap by any means. Let's go ahead and turn her on. So you get a nice big fully digital gauge cluster, and the graphics there feel pretty modern. It's pretty high resolution. The infotainment system's a little underwhelming. I don't really love it. This is Nissan's infotainment system from the past few years. I think it could use a redesign. It's just a little bit fragmented, and for example, I haven't been able to figure out how to scroll through Sirius XM radio stations like one by one by one, like go from 50 to 51 to 52 to 53. The best I've figured out how to do is categories, and you just kind of have to find what you want in a convoluted manner. It's just little sensibilities like that that this system appears to lack. In the Infiniti, you do get a little control panel here for the infotainment system that is different than in the Pathfinder. Pathfinder is purely a touchscreen, but right here you get some controls. You've seen this before in other Infiniti products, so this allows you to cycle through things. See there, I'm going through the different presets. It's not necessary, which is the strange part, and there's no volume down here. I think a volume button down here might be nice, kind of like you get in Mazda products, but you just get audio, menu, a map thing. You can bring up the camera system via this button. That's nice. And then there's a back feature here, and then this is for the maps, so zooming in and out. Nobody's gonna do that though. Everyone wants to just pinch to zoom on maps, so this feels unnecessary, and it's kind of unfortunate to see it in an all-new generation. Moving on, here's your shifter. So park, push the P button. To go into drive, you push this button and then pull back. For reverse, you push that button and then push forward. And then for neutral, you pull back and you leave it for a moment. You can also go into a manual mode if you just pull back and it cycles through. Got a couple different drive modes. So eco, auto, sport, personal, and then snow. I used that at least once this week. The all-wheel drive system in the new QX60 here in the new Pathfinder is a little bit more sophisticated than the all-wheel drive system in the previous generations of these vehicles. Without getting too technical, you can count on it a little bit more in uneven dirt road situations than you could previously. Still not an off-road vehicle, but it's better than it was in the previous generation. Speaking of the camera, Nissan and Infiniti do really nice 360-degree cameras. Unfortunately, with the rain, we can't really get a good idea of the resolution, but overall, I'd say it's slightly above average, and the 360-degree camera here is pretty sharp and pretty good. As for surfaces, we've got a kind of quilted leather, because remember, this is the fully loaded version. Dashboard feels fine. Steering wheel, you'll recognize this switch gear out of Nissan products. You've got ProPilot Assist on the QX60 here, meaning that the vehicle can leverage the radar cruise control and the lane keeping system to pilot itself down the highway over short distances, so that's nice. Other automakers are starting to offer this. Nissan was one of the first, and if you do a lot of highway driving, I think it's worth prioritizing. Paddle shifters, because like I said, you do get a new 9-speed automatic transmission. Bose audio system, again, $65,000. Those are the kind of things you expect for $65K. Let's go into park here and then check out the second and third rows. So since this is a fully loaded autograph trim, you get second row captain's chairs. And one thing I'm noticing, the second row seats are much higher up than the front seats. So based on the headrests there, I mean, that is much higher, and it gives you a really nice view. So your backseat passengers can see out of the windshield almost as well as the front seat passengers can. HVAC controls back here, and this fully loaded $65,000 QX60 has heated second row seats along with some independent HVAC controls back here, so you can adjust temperature, you can adjust fan speed, you can adjust where the air comes out, you can turn things on and off. USB-C, that's one thing I didn't mention. You've got a USB-C port, a USB-A port, and a wireless charger right there. And then back here, you've also got USB-C, USB-A, and a 120 volt, 150 watt, 3-prong home style outlet. So that's just a basic AC inverter. We're seeing those more and more in cars these days, and they're nice if you've got a use for them. Window shades here for the back seat. Nice if you have young kids. And then the QX60 and the new The QX60 and the new Pathfinder's party trick is this removable second row console. It's okay. It's got pluses and minuses. First, I'll show you how it works. So you pull off this cover here, which maybe they could have designed that a little bit differently. But then you grab this and the whole thing comes out. It's super lightweight. I did the same thing in my review of the new Pathfinder. Go check that out if you're interested. But it's a super lightweight little center console that, you know, pretend that's gone and out of the way. If you have kids that are going to be using the third row, you've now got a way for them to more easily access the third row. Or if you're not going to be using the third row, you just put this back in. I just did all of that one-handed. It's a really simple to use design, but at the same time, I could just go for an open pass-through here without all this added plastic that kids are going to trample on. So, use cases will vary for this, but it's got 2 cup holders and then a little storage cubby there. Let's hop in the third row. So you've got a couple different options for getting back there. There's a button on the back of the seat, or you can just push this. Oh, someone got this dirty. And then we will climb in, and yeah, I think you'd have to release something there to get this to come all the way back. But with the second row seat pretty far forward, I've got enough knee room. Let's check out over here. And I've got significantly less knee room. I would not be very comfortable riding in this position, but if someone in the second row were willing to sacrifice a little bit of their leg room, I could tolerate sitting in this third row, but yeah, it's probably best reserved for kids. Like I said, there's no middle seat here like there is in the Pathfinder. It's like they've just deliberately eliminated it and put this little stupid tray thing here. I don't know who wouldn't go for the extra passenger capacity, but that's what they've done. I don't understand why. You've got 2 USB-A ports, one for each of these passengers, and yeah, that's about it. Looks like that little clip for the seatbelt is busted off. Let's get out of here and let's go for a drive. Okay, driving the 2022 Infiniti QX60. Honestly, the QX60 drives pretty similarly to the new Pathfinder. There really isn't that much that differentiates the two from a driving experience. You're not going to feel 11 additional horsepower in the 11 additional pounds-feet of torque that you get in the QX60. What you can expect from a luxury car is a little bit more quiet driving experience, and that can be attributed to these generally come with thicker glass, and the overall higher end surfaces used generally just make for an overall more luxurious experience from a noise and vibration standpoint. Unfortunately though, I haven't been able to drive this back to back with the Pathfinder, so I can't say that for sure, but usually you can bet on that. There's the 9-speed, there's 50 miles per hour, so you get shift points now, which is nice. 0 to 60 is about 6.5 to 6.7 seconds, based on what I read. It's not blistering fast, but pretty much par for the course, especially given the power output here. Steering wheel feels pretty nice. There's a little bit of squish to it, which I appreciate. Slightly contrasting, like silver stitching throughout. The interior here it's pretty nice. Nothing revolutionary, nothing too remarkable. I forgot to mention that the HVAC panel here is all touch, which some people might not like. You don't get that in the Pathfinder. The Pathfinder still has buttons. You do get some dials here, so for like air temperature and sync and volume, you have dials, but everything else is kind of like a big plastic panel with buttons underneath it, but when you press them, the whole panel moves. Takes a little bit of getting used to. It's not that nice, honestly. This isn't nicer. It's nicer to just have buttons. With this, I don't know, it feels gimmicky. Maybe to somebody who's coming from a vehicle that's 8 or 10 years old, but this doesn't really impress me. I'd prefer to just have buttons. Coming up on our speed bumps here, let's go 30 miles per hour over this one. It's pretty small. Yeah, car felt pretty good. I never expect too much from those, but it's just a good test of whether or not there are a lot of rattles in the vehicle. We hit that one at 20, so there's a little bit more bob, but nothing out of the ordinary. This one's bigger. We're going about 22. Everything felt fine. And this car is completely up to par. It's not under par. It's not over par. It's par. Like I said, the backup camera's pretty nice, but you really can't see anything out of it right now because of all this rain. Same with the 360-degree camera, although I'm going to be able to position myself pretty perfectly in the middle of my driveway here. There's an electronic component to the seatbelt. That's different. Not necessary at all, but so watch. It tightens. It did something else there, but then when I undo it, I kind of threw it off there, but it tries to pull itself off of you. Didn't really recover, but you get the picture. Anyway, that is your look at the 2022 Infiniti QX60. The thing that stands out to me about this vehicle is that it's very similar to the Nissan Pathfinder on which it's based. Aesthetically, the two vehicles are pretty different, and design inside and out, and then surfaces and materials used. Those are different, but in terms of feature content, capability, powertrain, the vehicles are still pretty similar. The QX60 here differentiates itself with like some electronic features, like you get a power steering column here. The third row comes up automatically, although you do lose one seat in the third row. So overall, the two vehicles are pretty similar. I think Nissan definitely looked at this segment and said, okay, what can we share between the Pathfinder and the QX60? And they shared everything that they possibly could between these two vehicles. So if you're shopping for something in this segment, I would definitely also test drive a Pathfinder. What really puts it into perspective, I think, is this. A fully loaded Pathfinder comes in at about $48,000. So that's like a platinum model with every possible feature, with all-wheel drive. A base level QX60 starts at about $46,000, $47,000. So you could have a fully loaded Pathfinder for the cost of a very base QX60. And then a fully loaded QX60 comes in at about $65K. So you're looking at about a $15,000 price premium across the board for the QX60. And just know that that price premium is rooted in mostly in design, and the fact that this is a luxury vehicle, whereas the Pathfinder is a mainstream vehicle. But if you can look past that, I think you can save a lot of money just going with a loaded Pathfinder, and you get a lot more value there. But still, if you're committed to the luxury segment and you're interested in a QX60, I would also test drive the new Acura MDX. That vehicle honestly, it feels a little bit more special than this. And you can also get a higher performance version of the new MDX. I don't foresee Infiniti offering a high performance QX60. I'd also probably look at the Volvo XC90. I've not driven the Lincoln Aviator, but I've heard that that's pretty good. Buick and Cadillac have offerings in this segment, but I wasn't real impressed by the Cadillac XT6. And then as far as the Europeans go, they're still kind of a level above Infiniti and Acura and Volvo, in my opinion. I've driven the X5, I've driven the GLE, I've driven the Q7, I've driven even the Genesis GV80. Those four vehicles still feel a step above this. But overall, this is a pretty competitive segment, this three-row luxury family crossover space. I know Lexus is going to be entering it soon. That vehicle is definitely going to be worth a look, and I think in a lot of ways that'll be kind of a trump card at this level. But either way, if you're shopping for a family luxury crossover, looking to spend between $50,000 and $65,000, I think the QX60 here is definitely worth a look, but just make sure that you shop around and look at your other options in this segment too, because it's a pretty close race. Thank you for watching.